The human mind is a fascinating enigma, a space where thoughts, emotions, and perceptions intertwine, but which also extends beyond that. More than a tool for reasoning, the mind is a portal, an invisible bridge between what we perceive as individual and that which we call transcendent. Carl Jung, in his profound reflections, proposes that the idea of God should not be limited to an external or distant concept but recognized as a living presence within each of us. This presence does not reveal itself in dogmas or rules, but through the most intimate experiences, those that occur at the core of our being, where words give way to silence full of meaning. According to Jung, the divine does not need to be understood as an entity that resides outside of us, but as a symbol that emerges from the unconscious, carrying universal truths that transcend any culture or time. This perception transforms spirituality into an accessible experience, integrated into our own nature. Thus, the sacred ceases to be a distant mystery and becomes something deeply personal, something we can touch in the depths of our psyche and recognize in moments of insight or inspiration. When we perceive the mind as this channel, we begin to see that the transcendent is not confined to scriptures or traditions, but lives in every breath of our existence. The spiritual quest, then, is not a journey outward, but an internal exploration, an unveiling of the layers that connect us to the essential. It is in this inner space that the divine calls us, not as a loud voice, but as a whisper that echoes in our dreams, intuitions, and the mysteries of everyday life. The mind, like a vast ocean, has depths where the currents of the unconscious flow toward the surface of consciousness. Carl Jung illuminated these waters by describing the collective unconscious, a universal repository of images and symbols that share common meanings for all human beings. In this mysterious space reside archetypes, primordial forms that give structure to internal chaos and manifest as vehicles for the divine. These archetypes, the father, the hero, the shadow, among others, are not just abstract figures but forces that shape our lives in invisible ways. They emerge as responses to our deepest questions, organizing our thoughts and emotions into narratives that resonate with a greater sense. When we face challenges, the hero awakens, inspiring courage and action. When we seek belonging, the archetype of the mother may arise, embracing us in her symbolic presence. But what is this divine we find in the archetypes? It is a force that transcends the limitations of the ego, a reminder that we are connected to something greater than ourselves. When the archetypes emerge, often in moments of crisis or transformation, they bring with them messages that guide us, even if those messages are not always understood immediately. It is as though the divine speaks a symbolic language, inviting us to interpret its signs with the sensitivity of someone who listens to the inaudible. The mind, in this context, becomes a channel of communication between the human and the transcendent. Through the archetypes, we are called to find meaning in the events of our lives, to realize that even the most challenging moments contain a hidden purpose. Jung invites us to make space for these manifestations, allowing them to reorganize the internal chaos toward harmony and wholeness. Dreams, as fleeting as they are intense, are portals to a realm where time and logic lose their dominion. It is in this dream territory that the divine often chooses to manifest, using the language of symbols and images to convey messages that transcend the limitations of the conscious mind. Carl Jung saw dreams as a bridge between the conscious and the unconscious, a way for our psyche to access deep and often transformative truths. Each dream is like an enigma, a narrative that speaks in metaphors and archetypes, inviting us to decipher it. When a mysterious figure appears in a dream, or when we are confronted with landscapes that seem strangely familiar, we are in the presence of symbolic messages. They are not just random creations of the mind but reflections of something greater, something that guides us to face our fears, explore our hopes, and seek balance amid chaos. The divine uses dreams as a universal language, adapted to the unique experience of each individual. In a moment of uncertainty, a dream may bring the image of a guide, a light in the dark symbolizing direction and safety. During a period of personal growth, we may dream of the journey of a hero, a reflection of our own process of overcoming and self-discovery. These dreams, no matter how simple or complex, carry with them the essence of the sacred, a presence that connects us to our higher purpose. Interpreting dreams requires more than analysis. It demands an attentive listening, an openness to what they have to teach us. When we embrace their symbolic meanings, we discover that dreams not only reflect our inner state but also guide us toward what we have yet to know. They invite us to trust the journey, to perceive that the divine is always whispering within us, shaping our narrative with touches of mystery and grace. The universe, in its vastness, sometimes seems to respond to us in ways that defy logic. Jung called this phenomenon synchronicity, a convergence of seemingly casual events, but which carry a deep and resonant meaning. It is as if the outer world and our inner world align for a moment, creating a moment of clarity that transcends rational explanation. These meaningful encounters do not obey the laws of chance. They are messages from the divine, communicated through patterns and coincidences that capture our attention. A number that repeats incessantly, an unexpected encounter with someone who brings the answer we were looking for, or a phrase read by chance that seems to speak directly to our soul. These experiences are not mere coincidences. They are like a subtle dialogue between us and the universe, a reminder that we are connected to something greater. Synchronicity occurs more often when we are in search of something, a purpose, an answer, or a direction. It is in these moments of uncertainty that the divine seems to lean in our direction, using the events of everyday life to guide us. These experiences do not require blind faith, but a sensitivity to recognize that the ordinary can be extraordinary when seen through the light of meaning. When we embrace synchronicity, our perception expands. We begin to see life not as a random sequence of events, but as an intricate tapestry, where each thread is connected to another. The divine in this context is not a distant force, but an active presence that dances with us through these subtle connections. Recognizing and honoring synchronicity is more than a spiritual practice. It is an invitation to live with greater attention and intention. When we perceive these significant coincidences, we become conscious participants in the cosmic masterpiece being woven around us and within us. Within each of us, there is a powerful force that longs for integration, a wholeness that Carl Jung called the self. This self is not just a psychological concept, but an expression of the divine within us, the manifestation of unity that transcends the divisions between conscious and unconscious. It is the part of us that seeks to harmonize all facets of our existence, integrating light and shadow, reason and intuition, human and transcendent. The quest for the self is, at the same time, a journey of self-knowledge and a connection to the divine. It is not a linear path, but a spiral of discoveries and challenges that bring us closer, little by little, to our truest essence. Every experience, whether of pain or joy, offers us an opportunity for integration. As we face our deepest fears or celebrate our most authentic triumphs, we are moving toward wholeness. The self, as a representation of wholeness, is also an expression of the human desire to connect with the divine. This connection does not occur outside of us, but within, where all parts of our psyche converge into a single point. It is like an inner flame, always present, but often forgotten amidst the noise of daily life. As we reconnect with this flame, we discover that harmony is not something we seek externally, but something that already exists within us, waiting to be awakened. This process of integration is sacred because it reflects the very act of creation. Just as the universe is an expression of unity amid diversity, the self is the synthesis of the opposing forces that compose our existence. It is the meeting of the human and the divine, a state of balance that allows us to live with purpose, aligned with our deepest essence. When we approach the self, we are not only getting to know ourselves better, we are connecting with the essence of the cosmos. It is a reminder that the divine is not something distant or inaccessible, but a living presence that dwells within each of us, guiding us toward wholeness and inner peace. The shadow, that part of us we prefer to ignore, holds a mystery as deep as it is unsettling. Carl Jung described the shadow as the repository of our repressed aspects, fears, desires, impulses, and truths we avoid confronting. However, there is something profoundly sacred in this dark territory. It is here that the divine often chooses to manifest, challenging us to transform what has been rejected into something whole and integrated. The darkness of the shadow is not a punishment, but an invitation. Confronting it is not only an act of psychological courage, it is also a spiritual calling. For the divine, in its essence, does not only manifest in the light. It is present in the depths, in moments of pain, and in spaces of uncertainty. When we resist the shadow, we miss the chance to hear what it has to say, to learn from its symbolic messages, and to grow from its hidden wisdom. The process of confronting the shadow is like descending into an unknown underground, armed only with a torch. At first, what we find may seem threatening or uncomfortable. But as we illuminate every corner, we realize that these repressed aspects are not monsters to be defeated, but parts of ourselves that long for acceptance. By embracing the shadow, we transform darkness into light, fear into understanding, and separation into unity. The divine in the shadow also teaches us about the paradox of existence. Just as there is no day without night, there is no growth without challenges. Every aspect we face in the shadow is a step toward integration, an opportunity to become more authentic and complete. The divine calls us not to flee from the darkness, but to dance with it, recognizing that it is through this confrontation that we approach wholeness. Embracing the shadow is, therefore, an act of redemption, a reconciliation with the parts of us we have forgotten or feared. And in this act, we find not only healing but also a deeper connection with the sacred. For it is in the darkness that the light becomes more evident, and it is in the shadow that the divine reveals its transformative presence. Intuition, this silent whisper that arises from within, is perhaps the most direct way the divine communicates with us. It operates beyond logical reasoning, connecting the conscious and the unconscious in a subtle flow of perceptions and insights. For Carl Jung, intuition was not just a human skill, but a voice of the transcendent, a guide that directs us even when we do not fully understand its purpose. By trusting in intuition, we allow our minds to open to what cannot be explained. It is a leap of faith, not in the conventional religious sense, but in the trust that a greater wisdom is operating through us. This wisdom may manifest as an inexplicable feeling that something is right or wrong, a premonition that leads us to make a decision, or even a sudden insight that resolves a dilemma that seemed unsolvable. Intuition is a symbolic language, and listening to it requires practice and sensitivity. Often, it presents itself in forms that challenge logic. A dream that lingers in our mind upon waking, an idea that appears out of nowhere, or an inexplicable feeling of connection with a place or person. These moments are not accidents. They are touches from the divine, reminding us that we are connected to something greater than ourselves. Trusting intuition is also an act of humility, for it requires us to accept the unknown as part of the journey. We don't always know where it will lead us, but by following its signs, we discover paths that often lead us to greater clarity and purpose. It is like walking in a forest under the moonlight. Though the light is limited, it is enough to guide us step by step toward our destination. When we listen to intuition, we create space for the divine to manifest in our lives. It is an active listening, a dance between the visible and the invisible, where we learn to trust not only in what we know but also in what we feel. And by doing so, we connect to a deeper truth, one that reminds us that the sacred has always been and always will be within us. Nature, in all its grandeur and simplicity, is one of the purest expressions of the divine. Every leaf that dances in the wind, every wave that crashes on the shore, every star that shines in the night sky is a manifestation of the sacred, a constant reminder that the universe pulses with life and purpose. For those who allow themselves to contemplate it, nature becomes a living language, a way to communicate with the transcendent. Jung recognized the intrinsic connection between humans and nature, seeing it as a source of archetypal wisdom. The natural cycles, the rising and setting of the sun, the seasons that renew, the flow of the tides, reflect the very dynamics of the human psyche. Just as nature undergoes periods of growth, rest, and rebirth, we are also invited to honor our own inner cycles, accepting change as an inevitable and necessary part of life. To contemplate nature is to open oneself to mystery. When we observe the spiral pattern of a seashell or the intricacy of a spider's web, we are not just seeing beautiful forms, but symbols that echo eternal truths. These patterns resonate with something deep within us, as if nature is telling us, you too are part of this whole, of this cosmic dance. The experience of being in nature also teaches us about presence and humility. Walking through a forest or contemplating a mountain, we are reminded of our smallness in the face of the vast, but also of our essential connection with everything around us. It is a wonderful paradox. By feeling small, we find our place in the infinite. Nature does not need words to convey its message. It speaks through its beauty, simplicity, and constancy. It is a divine presence that calls us to slow down, to listen, to observe. When we honor it, we also honor the divine within us, recognizing that we are part of this extraordinary creation, interconnected with every leaf, every stone, and every ray of sunlight. Creativity is the most visceral manifestation of the divine in the human being, a channel through which the transcendent takes form in the tangible world. When we create, whether through art, music, writing, or any other expression, we are participating in a sacred act, a collaboration with forces we often do not fully understand. Jung saw creativity as a dialogue with the unconscious, a way to translate the depths of the psyche into something that can be shared and experienced. The creative process is, by nature, mysterious. An idea arises as a glimpse, an image, or a sound that insinuates itself into our mind, asking to be explored. This moment of inspiration is an encounter with the divine, an instant when something greater than ourselves reveals itself. It is as if we are instruments through which the sacred expresses itself, transforming the invisible into the visible. Creating requires courage, for it is an act of bringing to light what is hidden. Often, what emerges during the creative process is not only beautiful but also unsettling or challenging. This happens because creativity is not just a celebration of the light, but also an exploration of the shadow. When we create, we confront our fears, desires, and contradictions, transforming them into something meaningful and often universal. Art, in all its forms, is a language of the divine. When we look at a painting that moves us or listen to music that seems to speak directly to our soul, we are experiencing this connection. The creator and the observer become one, united through the work. In that moment, the divine is present, not as something external, but as a shared energy that transcends boundaries. Creativity reminds us that we are co-creators of reality, that we have the ability to transform thoughts into forms, emotions into stories, and dreams into something that can be touched and felt. It is a sacred gift that connects us to the essence of the universe, allowing us to participate in the continuous act of creation. And by doing so, we draw closer to the divine, recognizing that it is not just around us but also within us. The divine is not only found in grand moments or transcendental experiences, it also resides in the small details of daily life. It is easy to seek the sacred in temples, rituals, or breathtaking landscapes, but the true challenge is to recognize it in the daily routines, the simple gestures, and the human connections. This perception transforms the ordinary into the extraordinary, revealing that every moment can be an encounter with the divine. It is in the smile of a stranger, in the unexpected kindness of someone crossing our path. It is in the stillness of a peaceful morning, in the aroma of fresh coffee, or in the sunlight streaming through a window. When we look attentively, we realize that life is full of little miracles, manifestations of a greater presence that permeates all that we are and do. This recognition invites us to live with more intention and presence. The divine in the everyday calls us to slow down, to truly observe, and to engage in each moment, rather than simply passing through them. It is not about creating an artificial spirituality, but about realizing that the sacred is already here, waiting to be noticed in every breath, in every interaction, in every choice. Transforming the everyday into a space for the divine is an act of acceptance and gratitude. When we embrace the sacredness of our daily tasks, they cease to be routine obligations and become opportunities for connection. The walk to work, the preparation of a meal, the care of the home, all these simple acts can transform into rituals, into moments of contemplation and celebration. The divine in the everyday teaches us that spirituality is not separate from life. It is life itself, lived with attention, love, and reverence. When we embrace this vision, we discover that we do not need to seek the sacred elsewhere. It is here, now, present in every step, in every word, in every gesture we offer to the world. The spiritual journey is deeply personal and, at the same time, universal. Each of us carries within symbols, archetypes, and stories that form our unique connection with the divine. There is no single path. The divine communicates with us in different ways, adapting to our experiences, desires, and needs. This silent and symbolic communication encourages us to explore our own psyche, to listen more attentively to the signs that come from within. This invitation to introspection is a call to courage. The divine encourages us to dive into the depths of our minds, to confront our shadows, to honor our intuition, and to find the sacred in all things. It is not a linear nor easy process, but it is profoundly transformative. As we walk this path, we discover that the divine is not something we need to seek. It has been with us from the beginning, waiting for us to recognize it in our own hearts. This journey requires openness, the willingness to question, and the willingness to accept. It is an act of surrender, where we set aside certainties and embrace mystery. By doing so, we discover that spirituality is not about reaching a destination, but about the very act of walking. Each step brings us closer to our essence, connecting us to what is eternal. When we recognize the mind as a sacred channel, we see that it is not just a tool for thought, but a bridge to the transcendent. Every insight, every dream, every intuition is a message from the divine, an opportunity to align our lives with what truly matters. This perception transforms our view of the world and ourselves, bringing greater clarity, purpose, and peace. I invite you to reflect on this journey. How has the divine manifested in your life? What messages have you received through your dreams, intuitions, and moments of synchronicity? Share your experiences in the comments. This is a space for exchange and mutual learning. If this content resonated with you, like this video and subscribe to the channel. By doing so, you help us continue sharing reflections that inspire and connect. And remember, the divine is always present in both the big and small moments, waiting for you to perceive and welcome it into your life.